Hey everyone, welcome and thanks for tuning into LCC Remix, where we unpack the latest message in a deeper way. We hope this episode encourages and speaks to you.
Welcome back. Happy New Year.
Woo!
New Year, yeah. New year, new season. Do we do seasons here at LCC Remix?
Season?
That'd be neat.
It's winter.
Well, I mean, seasons like season 2,
season
season 3.
Oh, yeah.
They're episodic, so.
What
And I
season
had
would
that
this
once.
be?
I don't know. I mean, if it was like a TV show, and they used to be, like sitcoms used to be like 20, 22, 25, episodes a season. Now, they're like 6 to 8 to 10 episodes in a season, which is really weird.
Yeah, and they all come out at once.
They all come out at once, and it takes 2 or 3 years to get the next season.
Yeah, that's rough. You binge watch it in a weekend, and then you got to wait 2 years for the next season.
Like, I don't get that. Is the work ethic just not there that like it used to be? Like Little House would crank out like seriously, like 24, 26 episodes and a Christmas special in a season, and that would run, and then they would take like a 2-month break, and then it was back to here's season 2, you know. And meanwhile, during that 2-month break, Michael Landon was making a movie somewhere, or, doing something else. Anyway. Sorry, I'm a big Little House fan. That would be a good podcast, Big Little House.
Big Little House.
Big Little House fans. Trademark, patent pending, whatever, copyright. This is for all the legal stuff that'll happen at a later date. Anyway. Aaron, you're a big fan of Little House too, or
I am.
Yeah. I came to it much later in life, and by later I mean last year.
I was going to say I've watched all of the episodes 2 or 3 times, so I don't watch it nearly as much anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's this one. Oh, the fire. I don't want to watch this one.
Well, I used to joke all the time. Is this the one Mary Goes Blind? Yeah. That's the only one I knew.
Yes.
I wasn't allowed to watch that Little House as a child because it was deemed too scary for me.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. No, I just didn't watch it. But unlike many children today, we had no control over the television in our home ever.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, he only had 5 channels, so.
you're right. The only time during the year, and we just came through the Christmas season, the only time when those Christmas specials would come on, your parents would be like, okay, you could come in, like you're going to watch, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is on tonight, and that's the only night it's going to be on.
Yeah.
And you better be sitting there when that special thing started because
you got one shot.
A second.
Yep.
And you went to the restroom, bathroom when the commercials happened because that was your break. But anyway,
It made it more special then.
it was a special.
Yeah.
It was.
Now we watch everything all the time. And
Everything on demand. It's just the
nothing's
world's different.
special.
You're right though. I mean, it used to be you are going to watch what's on. You don't have a say in the matter. You're just what are you watching? What's on?
What's on TV?
What?
And if the president
what my dad
came
turned
on, you
into.
were out of luck.
I know. You're like, oh, no.
Oh man, Ronald Reagan again.
Yep.
It's always Creature Feature on Saturday afternoons.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to watch.
Well,
this.
speaking of Saturdays, that was cartoon day.
Yeah, I was
That
going to say the
day
only times you
cartoons
had
were on.
freedom, well, for me, was in the Saturday mornings when the only time there was a bunch of cartoons, or right after school they had like an hour
The after-school special.
Before,
of stuff,
news and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
and that's it. That's it. But that's another good. Talk about the news. News was morning, noon, dinner time, and night, and that's it.
Yeah,
It wasn't constantly trying to fill the air with ridiculousness. It was.
The 11 o'clock evening news, and then some networks went to 10 o'clock because they wanted to get ahead of the 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Remember the report you saw on the dangers of ice cream one year and how all the things that could go wrong with ice cream and bacteria and stuff. And at the end, they said there have been no reported cases.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
They did a whole
There was a whole thing just to,
It was a
put
slow
fear in
news
people.
day.
Right. They had to come up with something to talk about.
No
We got
reported.
like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to kill.
This could happen, but we have no reported cases of any of this happening anywhere. But it could happen.
Now there's whole networks based on
Right.
that same theory.
You just described all of news today.
Yeah.
Let's get some guests on who know nothing about what they're talking about today. Or know something about something They're going to speculate on this.
That's the problem with most of the stuff that happens today.
Yeah. Let's ask a random celebrity what they think about the Venezuelan crisis.
Well,
because they'll know.
Obviously, they're experts.
They
played them in a movie.
Yeah.
If somebody had something important to say, they would write a book. Like Pilgrim's Progress or something. That was amazing.
You went back.
Yeah,
right.
Well, right. Yeah, but that but
no one's had anything to say since John Bunyan.
like Lewis and those guys,
Yes,
Tolkien. All those guys. They came up.
Yeah.
But now there are people who are they have to produce to make a paycheck.
You're right.
And so they just turn out foolishness most of the time.
Yes.
That's why the quality of the storytelling and everything is been degraded so much. Over
It's repeating stories.
Well, yeah.
Because most of what you're watching is it's remakes and retellings of previous stories.
Yeah, but So that idea I think applies to everything. It's news, everything. It's now they got to fill the airways. They got to do this. They got 20. How much news can you come up with in 24 hours a day? And so you have to just ice cream could be whatever art, and it's just degraded everything.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. Well, there's your bonus content there at the front of today's episode.
Stack it up on the front.
A new year.
Welcome to a new year.
Welcome to a new year of random thoughts from four guys sitting in a modular trailer. That's right. Way nicer than my trailer.
This kind of
This is a triple wide.
That's right.
Yeah. This would be a nice size house. Now that I'm looking at it,
Yeah,
It would.
yeah.
we bought this trailer used for what, $13,000?
There you go.
Yep.
I don't know. It might be onto something. I think my next home is going to be a triple wide trailer.
Triple wide trailer.
Forget the barn dominium. Just leave it like wide open.
I've seen some pretty cool ones with the big storage containers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have too.
Yeah.
Creative, yeah. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They have out in when we visited Taylor in New Mexico in one of the towns. There's whole hotels being made of those containers. Yeah.
Really?
I mean, granted, you're kind of logistically challenged being on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
But I mean, they put them up and piece them all together. Put walls in. You can't tell.
No.
It's really, if you didn't see the construction, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kind of reminds me of the movie Ready Player One.
Yeah,
those whole communities like shipping
It's just
containers
built
and
up.
things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Interesting.
I used them for an office downrange many times. They were not that nice. Yeah, they were not that nice.
Cubed.
Yeah, the New Jerusalem, the city that's four square. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to understand that, but anyway.
So Nehemiah.
So Nehemiah, we're kicking off a new series called Rise and Build. And we were in the book of Nehemiah this past Sunday. Nehemiah chapter 1 and part of chapter 2. And I was trying to make some connections between Nehemiah's desire, God-given vision for the people of God to see the city of Jerusalem's walls rebuilt, and try to make some connections with, us today in our own lives and beyond that collectively as a church, and then, what God wants us to do. So kind of kick things off by starting with, hopefully I was painting a picture of Nehemiah's heart, his heart that was inclined towards the children of God from the very outset, so that when news came of what he inquired about the new, what's going on back in Jerusalem. So he obviously, cared and was compassionate and, concerned about, the children of God and God's people. And, when he heard the news that even though, historically the temple had been rebuilt, the walls were still down and the people were viewed as a reproach, things weren't going so great. He responded not with criticism, but with a heart that, was like, okay, God help us. And he mourned and he wept and he fasted, he prayed, and he, So I guess maybe just starting there, like I talked about that idea of a holy burden, which I hope I painted the difference between like burdens that we're meant to carry and burdens that we're not meant to carry. I don't know, but because sometimes I think I say a lot of things and I don't know what I'm really saying. Does that make sense?
You know what you're saying.
I know what I'm saying, but do people understand what I'm saying? But because there's burdens that we carry that we're not meant to carry, but then there's also a burden that God gives us, a holy burden that we should carry, but He carries it with us. So maybe we could start there by talking about the differences between those types of things in our lives, like a burden we shouldn't carry versus a burden that we should carry. So I don't know, maybe starting there or wherever you want to go, or just talk about Nehemiah.
In one of the services, I'm trying to remember how exactly you said it.
I won't
about connecting. You connected vision with the burden, like something that came from God is always going to come with this burden. I don't remember if you said it the other way.
No, I didn't say it like that, but I don't
but it
remember.
was. But I thought that was really good because it's the recurring theme of your heart breaks for what God's heart breaks.
Yes,
and seeing that and recognizing it, that burden is a instrument of conviction. Like you see it, you recognize the need, you know that it's wrong, it's affecting you, it's something that, and then you feel compelled to do something more than just talk about it, which was your point. More than talk about it, like this is something He's done. I think I can do. That maybe it's something I can start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the word burden might throw people, but I think it like a calling. So God really impresses on you, lays on your heart or whatever. Women in crisis, or crisis pregnancy, and that's something that you see the need, you feel it, God places that and it's basically a calling to now get involved and do something, and or it could be anything like that when God calls you to the ministry or and I don't not that that's a special thing, but because I think we're all called to ministry in some degree, but it's something that God kind of impresses on you and kind of opens your eyes to see, and He goes, this is what I want you to do. Now go do it.
I think you're right. Maybe the just using the word burden can be a little maybe unclear.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's if you think about it as something that's on your heart, something that's weighing on your heart, then
yeah. And that's something. It's interesting. I think as we grow in Christ, He makes us aware of things. And that's where that quote unquote burden comes from. You can't walk with Christ and not experience what He does. But we're not big enough to carry all of that. And so God gives, here's just one little thing I want you to do, which might be a big thing in your eyes, probably is. But He takes that one little thing, here, God's got the big picture, but here I'm going to use you to do this. And so he places that concern in your heart, or that desire, or whatever. You see that need, and we talk about it too. And when people come, hey, we should do this. They come to the pastor. Our church should really. Well, maybe God's talking to you,
right,
and wants you to lead that. He's kind of set you up for this time for you to do that. That's a calling that God's put on your life. Now we're here to help. But don't, if you have this thing, maybe God's speaking to you. And so I think, that's kind of what's going on here with Nehemiah. He's in a really interesting situation. And think of it, he had to be a person of quite a bit of integrity.
Yeah.
To be a Jew serving, a pagan king. And the king respected him enough. Which is, you see that theme over it with Daniel and these guys, and that's somebody who's not compromising their relationship with the Lord in any way, but it still earned the respect of the pagan king, and God places it on his heart, and he's fine, and that's the thing. He was living pretty good.
Yeah,
he got to eat what the king ate.
You're right.
It
has one big big drawback though. Potentially,
it's great until
great
it's
upside,
not.
Right? You're gonna have one really bad day.
Yeah, and then, it's all good then. But so his life was probably pretty good. You talk about him even being, it was kind of an advisor to the king.
Yeah.
He was a close confidant of
always
the king.
in proximity. Yeah,
and then so he was kind of sitting pretty. He had no need, but God placed that on his heart.
Yeah.
For his homeland, and he was talking to people. They're coming back and telling him what's going on, and it's like, yeah, we kind of got the temple up, but man, we keep getting attacked, and we keep this, and we have no security, and we have no, and that broke him, and so he goes into prayer, and so yeah, that calling, or we call burden or whatever, but it's something God places on your heart,
right. Yeah, speaking about that cupbearer role you mentioned a moment ago, and we read the scripture. It talked about he was sad in the king's presence, and he had never been sad in his presence before, and the king recognized it's just sadness of heart. But that speaks to what you just said a moment ago, like his integrity, and if he'd never been sad in the king's presence and spent figure the king eats when he wants to eat, like he's with the king all the time. I would imagine when he's awake, he's around him nearby, and he'd never once been down. Yeah. That's an interesting. It's just a little insight into his personality.
Yeah.
Well, you go back to Daniel and Cyrus.
Right.
When Cyrus got tricked into putting Daniel in the lion's den. And he said he usually the king is he has a nice dinner and he's entertainment and stuff. He didn't want any of that. Basically, up all night worrying about Daniel. First light he runs to the king goes and checks on Daniel. The king went to check on Daniel. So what does that say about Daniel and his integrity? When the king's worried about you,
Right.
And,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's true.
So and you see. Why would the king be bothered if Nehemiah was upset?
Other than making sure he wasn't dying.
He would just sit
Are
there
you
wait.
sick? This is just sadness. No big deal. I'm going to eat my meal. Wait, are you sick?
Yeah, king slides his plate away. Let me wait about an hour.
This doesn't taste right.
Yeah. But no, it says a lot for Nehemiah. It really does, and his integrity and God knows his heart too. So when he places that concern on his heart. He knows he'll probably act on it, at least begin to pray about it. And I'm sure that all developed as he prayed and probably thought about it a lot, probably heavy on his mind constantly, worried about his people. And he, like I said, he was fine. It wasn't doing him any damage, but that's the way it is though. When God lays something on your heart,
it wouldn't let go because I talked about like he it's settled in on him, and he spends, according to the text, it's approximately 4 months between the time there's an opportunity to act and the time that he is first struck with this calling or burden.
Yeah,
and I think there's a lesson in that for all of us. Like how often, I know just from. I think culturally, it's like if we see something, let's just take care of it now. Like, what's the big deal? Like, fix the problem. But there's things in the kingdom that it's not necessarily like let's rush and do it. It's like we need to seek the Lord. It's a balance, right? Because there's some people that will pray for pray. Oh, let me pray about that. Like hey. We need to clean up after an event. Well, let me pray about that, and I'll get back. No, those are things that you see it. You come and do something, But stuff like this, where you're going to need a plan and provision and all of those things, he's taking more than twice the time that it actually takes to complete the task. So 52 days, they build the wall, but 120 days, whatever it ends up being,
Oh, he was in a place too. Even though he was in a powerful place, he was helpless.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. There's nothing that he could have done really prior to that.
All he could do is pray. And which we, That's kind of basically the perspective we need to have too. Is that's where it all starts?
Well, pray and plan. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of times when people will do hey, we should really be doing this. It's just an idea.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, oh, why aren't they doing this? And then in addition to praying, he has time to think about, man, they probably are going to need to do this, talk to this person and get these supplies, and it's not going to be that hard. I'm sure it's like was constantly churning. Like, how could it happen if so that when the opportunity did arise, he had the right answer.
Yeah, he was ready.
Well, it's always I feel like those kind of things are always a test of your patience as well. Like you brought out yesterday, Steve, was that, if your vision, if what you think, what God is calling you to is bigger than what you can handle, or bigger than, so many people I feel like come to people in the church and say, this is what I think we should do, because they have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, hey, and we don't like hearing, just be patient. Like, pray about that. Let God open the doors that are necessary for that. Because if you're seeking Him and pursuing Him in the middle of this calling that you're feeling, He's going to open those doors for you. But it's not going to be in your timing, and it's not going to be, when you think you're ready. Because when we think we're ready, we're not. It's going to be when God says, okay, now I'm ready for you. You've prayed about this. You've sought me in this. I'm going to open a door for you that probably is going to come from someplace you least expected it, and in a way you least expected it. And that's when you really, because again, over and over through His Word, we see Him acting through people in a way that they have no right or no authority to take any of the credit for what's been happening. It's all God. And so often we just want to, I want some credit. I have this idea. I want to help the homeless in Calvert County. I really want some credit for doing that. So this is my idea. We should do it right now, instead of saying, let's take some time and just pray about this and see what door God opens, that's not already been done, or something that's different, or something that may be coming around the corner that we don't know about, so that we can look back and say, wow, that God was in that, and God did that. All we did was be faithful to come to Him in prayer, and we don't get the picture in Nehemiah of his patience, in that 4 months, how many times he went to the king and said, man, I really want to do this. I really need to get this done, or was he just sitting in prayer and just waiting for God to move, to bring that right moment to go before the king and say, I want to go back to my homeland. I want to go back and do this.
I mean, I wonder if he even thought that was a possible outcome.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll just bide my time until the king asks me something. I don't think it was that at all, based on his response. When the king said, hey, why are you sad? He was dreadfully afraid, immediately dreadfully afraid. That's not a response of someone who's prepared to do it that way.
Right. Even
you know what I mean?
His quick prayer.
Right. And he followed it with, so I prayed and then just laid it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Makes me think of Paul, the Apostle Paul, after his conversion. He's on the road to Damascus. He's blinded. He sits for 3 days and goes through all that. He sends Ananias there, and then he goes out to preach. He starts a riot, and they want to kill him.
Right.
So the next day, they have to let him down in a basket through the city wall to get him to safety. And then he disappears.
Yeah.
For years.
3 years, right?
It's quite a while, yeah. And then finally, Barnabas is like, hey, we have this thing over here. I know the perfect guy for that. So all the time Paul has been, in the Word, he's been, the Holy Spirit's been dealing with him, talking to him and stuff. And there's a time of preparation or whatever. And Barnabas, hey, let's go get this guy. And they bring him in, and boom, you see Paul take off because he's ready now.
Well, and you wonder how much of the thorn in the flesh was just to slow him down.
Yeah.
Paul, I just need you to slow down. So I'm going to put this thorn in your flesh, which we think is a physical ailment, and it may well have been. But how much of that was just hey, I need you to be patient. Yeah. I want to prepare you for these things that are coming. And And we just live in that culture that's just like go, 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 go.
Yeah,
like,
microwave.
Here's an idea. We need to get it done. Like you said, we need to get it done today.
Mm-hmm. What's your action plan?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, and again, we all recognize there are things, if a building is on fire, you deal with the fire. Like but we should never be driven by, we should never let the urgency of something necessarily overcome what God really wants us to do in that. I guess, like you were talking about the homeless, I want to have a ministry to the homeless. Okay, that's a problem that has existed. I mean, Jesus said, like, you're going to have these issues always, like, when it comes to that. So that's one of those things. Yes, you can take time to do that. You get a phone call, someone's house is burned down and they need a place to stay. That's not something. Well, we're going to pray about that tonight. Okay. We'll get back to you.
Be warm.
Yeah. So
quoting James. I tell you, a difficult lesson for me to learn over the years is God is not in a hurry. And that's been a hard lesson. It's been a really hard lesson because we want now. We want answers now. We want, results now. And especially in spiritual growth and things like that, God is not in a hurry, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Right, but the thing, even through general revelation in the world that we live in, everything around us shows us that it's not that way.
Yeah,
I mean, everything through seasons, through growth, everything around us. Even our own lives, and I brought up the thing about like sleeping in one of the services, but like, we have limited opportunities and moments of time, and it's actually, I think, to teach us the lesson that we aren't important in that one sense as we think, oh, I'm so important, like God needs me to do this. No, God doesn't need me or anybody else to do what he wants to do, but he wants to use us, which is an awesome thing to do. But he gets the glory through it all, right?
Yeah.
He should. Yeah. But anyway. Thinking about, it'll happen as you go through the story of Nehemiah. But even as we start this story out, there's this idea, wow, look at God move. He gives them this open opportunity to petition the king. He gets provision from the king. But we all know the story as it continues. You would think in your mind, like, wow, this is happening and we're going to go and everything's going to work out. And there's opposition and all these things that he's going to face, which we'll dive into deeper and I'm sure further on another podcast. But the lesson in that for all of us is just because God opens up an opportunity doesn't mean there's not going to be opposition or hardship or whatever. So.
Well, you mentioned provision, and I think that's a big part of the beginning of the story is like, it wasn't even like, hey, Nehemiah, go fundraise for the next 2 years to get ready to do this. It was like God provided through the king, like all of these avenues of like, go get your wood here and go get your gates here. And go, like he set it all up for him because, again, we go back to it, like, because I feel like he was faithful in prayer and faithful in waiting for God to set that all up. And again, we just kind of want to bull rush our way through or figure out where can I find the funds to figure this out?
Yeah.
Who do I know?
Yeah, I like what you brought up Sunday about if you don't need God to come through, your vision's not big enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
True.
I would say it's not from God.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Because Nehemiah, though he had a great job, that's all he had.
Yeah.
He didn't own a lumber company or a rock quarry.
Right.
And
he didn't have the means to do any of that.
No, not at all. And who would think a pagan king would fund the building of the walls of someone who was an adversary?
Yeah.
In their eyes.
Yeah, your predecessors had to get rid of them.
Yeah. And so, talking about God coming through, But once again, if you walk with God long enough, you see things like that. You think the things that seem impossible, he does. And you don't understand how he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine there was no expectation of Nehemiah when he asked the king if he could go, that the king was going to provide all that he did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, he was just like, "Can I go?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I mean, I don't know what he was thinking before. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, which probably was like,
"Can I buy our hatchet?"
Yes.
And a hammer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But because he was working in God's timing, he'd already got it all. He set that all up and provided.
And that's once again, I think it goes back to Nehemiah and his integrity. The king really had to like him. One, to hear him out.
Yeah.
And then, boy, to bless him the way he did.
Yeah.
And so if Nehemiah was a jerk or always trying to get, away with whatever or sidestep stuff or, whatever, if his integrity wasn't there, Nehemiah, the king went, yeah, well, sorry for your luck. I understand why you're upset, but,
Well, it goes to the words of Jesus. I mean, Jesus says it. He who is faithful with little will be entrusted with much. And we see that play over and over again. You don't know little acts of obedience and faithfulness through the course of your walk with the Lord over extended periods of time. You don't know what fruit is going to be born out. First off, there's the fruit of your own integrity that God is working in your character because he wants our character to be conformed to the character of Christ. And so as we become more Christ-like, which that is, that is what Christianity is about. We are to more Christ-like. We never attain it, but we should look a little bit more like Jesus a year from now than we do now. But his integrity, like what you're talking about, it was all those things that you never think about. And, the steps of faithfulness and obedience that led him to that point, like you said, where the king was just like, going back to you've never been sad in my presence. Nehemiah had to be a guy that, the king probably liked being around him because, think of the burden of leadership in any capacity and to have someone close to you who's not dragging you down with them. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, life sucks. Sorry, probably shouldn't have said that on air, but we all know people like that. Oh, yeah, I've been that person at times, Yeah.
Well, we tend to live in an us versus them mentality, as far as it's us Christians against them from the world. And all throughout God's word, and even in the more modern times, you see people who, live from a mentality of like, God is faithful and God has placed me here for this purpose and for this. So I'm going to, whether that, is at a retail store or whether that's in a company or a business, you hate to hear like the worst people to do business with are Christians because, as followers of Christ, we should be the best. And I want to work with that company because, there is integrity in that company and so it's a lesson for us too to always be thinking about the fact that God has placed us where He is, and God is providing, and God is faithful. Our mandate or our job is to love people who are around us, whether they believe like we do or not. But to love them in such a way that they do at the very least enjoy being around us. And it's not like, oh, geez, here they come again. Like, what do we got this time? No, I enjoy being around you because you are joyful, and that's an opportunity to say, that joy comes from the Lord, and in spite of my circumstances and in spite of you, I'm going to be joyful in this, and so I think that's a great lesson for us, too, in a lot of different areas of our life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I agree.
Good point. I just need more Jesus. When I think about just life, just need more Jesus. I can't do this. None of us can. Any other thoughts from the passage? We kind of blew through the whole section, really. Just glancing down through.
No, I will say I like how you set it up for the series in talking about vision and where we're going as a church and where we're going to first put it in the context of are we praying? Are we on our knees before the Lord seeking his direction, seeking his purpose, seeking his working in this. I think that's a great way to start instead of just starting off the year with like, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Are you on board or not? It's just like, no, let's get on our knees before the Lord. And I think, and we mentioned it in the class yesterday after the service, like practicing a prayer, intentionally practicing a prayer. Yes, we can pray without ceasing and pray all the time, but setting aside that time to really go before the Lord and seek Him for, things that are in our family, things that are happening in our church, and, just being very intentional about setting aside that time to be in prayer. Mm-hmm. I think it's a big deal, especially in our place where we're at, and a lot of different things kind of in the fire and moving forward. And how do we move forward? How fast do we move forward? So I just appreciated the way you set it up yesterday of like, let's get on our knees before the Lord.
Yeah. And you got to know your why too. I mean, because you got to revisit that, because I don't know if I said it in all the services, but I know that, just to gather a crowd together is meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. Anybody can gather a crowd.
Yep.
But if we don't have the reason behind it, where every person understands I'm called to be in ministry somewhere or serving somewhere, because I'm called to be part of the Great Commission, and that's it's just not an option for a believer. You don't get to sit on the sideline and say, I'm not participating in Christ's mission for this world. You don't get to do that.
I know Jesus died for me.
Yeah.
I know He gave me, but I'm not going to do it.
And again, it looks different for everybody. So when we say that, it's not like, oh, everybody's got to go out overseas on missions, or everyone, it's like, for some, it's going to be your primary ministry in the season of your life is raising your kids in the most godly way possible. Mm-hmm. For some, it's going to be shifting your focus at work to how do you bring that one coworker along with you. Mm-hmm. For others, it might look like going on the mission field, or it might be, something similar to that, but.
Some intercessory prayer.
Oh my goodness,
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're not able to physically go, do whatever,
right.
and but it's all part of it.
And that's the beauty of the body of Christ, right? Because I know there's individuals who are, who may listen to this and they can't attend church because they physically cannot move or they can't get here, and I've had conversations with a couple individuals that have struggled with trying to know, well, where can I fit in? And it's like prayer is the big, that you are a prayer warrior. There is still ministry for you to do. That's, even though your physical, your body may be limited in your mobility, you are not limited in the spirit to do anything. So God is able to use you.
Yeah.
Do it, Or just because you're young, a young person thinking, well, I'm too young, I need to wait till. No, there's still things that you can do as a young person. Get involved in your school or, your neighborhood, you share your faith, find that senior in your neighborhood who just needs someone to go visit with them, and stop by and rake their leaves,
Yeah, take them crabs and fish.
You'll never know how that'll turn out. Yeah,
you never know.
I know. I yesterday was sharing that story. Every time I share it, it's just like it's a reminder of like, God, you are so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how you do any of this, but that's all because Jesus touches your heart, and you're like, oh, I should probably be doing something, showing kindness to someone, and like you never think you're ever going to see that come around.
Well, the beauty of it is you're not doing it for that reason. How do you know?
Yeah, you're not even bright enough to understand it. You're 13 years old. You're thinking like, oh yeah, one day
in 40 years this will come back.
This lady, no, goodness no. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I think what you said, Aaron, about praying, about the way that you set it up, Steve, and with the vision and laying it out and being intentional with prayer. I think a point you made about having the right posture, mindset, both that when you're praying, you're not praying. I'm not saying don't pray, what can I do? But to pray, God, what are you going to do? Right. And how can I be part of it? Right. Not what are we doing? Let's wait and see what we do, but let's wait and see what He does, using us. Mm-hmm. That it's a little shift, but just different, a different way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I along those lines, I always pray, don't let me get ahead of you and don't let me fall behind.
Yeah.
So walk with you and let you lead and I'll follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometime I think in one of our core values of prayer is a lifeline. I think it's part of that core value. It talks about, sometimes answers to prayer, they come in what seem like insignificant moments or when we face insurmountable obstacles. Because sometimes, we face those hard things. And like you said, Scott, it's like, okay, God, what are you going to do here? And how do you want to use us? Because there's no way I can figure this out. Mm-hmm. I don't see the answer here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to continue, this series and,
Oh, it's an awesome story.
Yeah.
It's a really good story.
Yeah. And I think it's good too, from the church's perspective, is, mentioned a minute ago, is like rediscovering the why, why we exist as a church, why it even matters that we're here. We've said it before, like if we were to, Aaron, you've bring it up more often than I think any of us. Like, oh yeah, people say, oh, that's a church that has a lot of cars there on Sunday. But like, if we were to close our doors next week, would it matter?
Yeah.
Like, it would matter, I think, to some people here, but would the ripple effects through our area, would it matter? And so that's what you want to be. You want to be that type of, fellowship where, you're actually advancing the kingdom. So it does matter what we do, everything that we do. So getting back to that why is so important. Not just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over.
Amen.
I guess we're over for today.
And over.
And over and over. We thank you for listening. And any final comments from anyone before we sign off?
Just give the end of chapter 2 and chapter 3 a read for this week, because
there you go.
Be in
Aaron
chapter
is
3
speaking.
this week.
Yeah.
Aaron's up.
Aaron is up. I'm looking forward to listening to it. That's the marathon day. So I will be listening to all 3 services.
While you're running.
Because I will be out for all 3 services. I am not looking forward to that.
I'm going to randomly in the middle. Go, Steve, go. You can do it.
Probably be in a medical tent.
Everybody back up.
Oh, my goodness. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. No more. Don't like it enough.
Why torture yourself? I don't understand it.
I was going to say something, but I won't. Because it'll get me in trouble. Thank you for listening. And if you want to know what I'm thinking right now, too bad.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to LCC Remix. If you have any questions about this podcast, reach out via email at lccremix@lifechurchcalvert.com. LCC Remix is a podcast ministry of Life Church Calvert located in Huntingtown, Maryland. You can visit our website, lifechurchcalvert.com, or download our app by searching Life Church Calvert in your app store today.